Hey everybody! We got Smaug! We got Smaug! Well, we have got Smaug, but we've also got some information on the new edition of Middle-earth Strategy Battle game. I was like 2 minutes away from nipping downstairs and going and making myself some chili for tonight. But I've been rudely interrupted by Warhammer Community dropping this insane article. So we're going to go through all of this article. I'm going to throw some ideas and thoughts and just kind of brainstorm at you. And then I'll come back up, eat some chili, and carry on painting my Ancalagon. Go and have a look at that video, by the way. There is a building my Smaug model on my timeline. So yeah, go and have a look at that one. But this one is all about the new edition. So they kind of tease that a new edition is coming up here. Then we get a picture of Smaug. And then we get some information. Okay, so they've been talking to Jay, who's the lead rules writer, and we've got some little snippets down here. So the next edition, as you may have heard, the new edition will focus on the upcoming Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim movie. So this is the animated movie which is coming out in December. And if the movie's coming out in December, maybe you can kind of guess at what sort of timeline we're looking at for the release of the new edition. If it comes out after the movie, that would be a huge miss. So I'm guessing comfortably before getting it all hyped up. Anyway, so yeah, somewhere around the release of the movie, I would guesstimate. Yeah, this is an incredibly exciting prospect. It's the first new movie we've been able to work on since the Hobbit trilogy. Whilst we can't go into too many details just yet, more in the coming weeks, you'll find a taster of what you can expect from the next edition below. Super cool. Okay, so the War of the Rohirrim movie is Rohan. So it's before Lord of the Rings, and it's based around Helm Hammerhand and the Rohan and their kind of conflict, if you like, with the Dunlings. There's a main character in the Dunlings who ends up having like this big conflict, so I'm not going to spoil anything on that. However, does that mean we're going to get Rohan in the box? Could be quite cool. So Rohan versus Dunlan, maybe in the new box that's coming out. So that's cool. So the entire core rules have been rewritten in an effort to streamline and modernise both the way that the rules are presented and the game itself. Clearer language, consistent terminology, and making the rules easier to follow have been the priorities, and a selection of the new rules have been added to inject even more narrative flavour into the game, which is amazing. The narrative flavour, it's been one of the games that I've been playing over the last few years where I've been hyping on about you never play a game of Lord of the Rings and don't leave with a story, with something that's cool that's happened on the board, and that's all down to the rules supporting the story that you're kind of playing on the tabletop. It's some, I don't want to say it's like a happy accident because I'm sure it's been designed that way, but like the correlation between how the rules work and then what's actually happening on the tabletop and the kind of the stories which you can put on in your mind about what's happening, it just all kind of comes together beautifully. It's such a good game. So it's really, really nice to see that. Clearer language and consistent terminology is obviously going to be very, very good. The length of some of the paragraphs to explain things at the moment are quite wordy, and a lot of us have been playing a long time, so we kind of understand those big long paragraphs in a split second sort of thing in terms of what they're trying to say, but coming into the game it can get a little bit kind of cumbersome, so that's cool. However, this is the next cool bit. There are a number of things we wanted to tackle, but the most important thing to point out is that those amongst us who have been playing for many years, the new edition will still play like the game we all know and love. Perfect. We are always listening to what fans of Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game have to say, and much of the work that's gone into the new edition has been to bring your feedback to the game where we can, which is great. And so yeah, that's perfect paragraph. Like, we don't want any changes to the game itself. The core mechanics are fantastic, and it's one of the core reasons why it's so much fun, so involving to play and get involved with when you're playing. It's not a I go, you go, remove everything off the table and don't get to play with your army kind of thing. So yeah, fantastic. There are no major changes to the core mechanics of the game, woohoo, which have stayed the same since the game's first release back in 2001. Yeah, I was there. The new edition will build on the solid foundations of the past. That isn't to say that there aren't some minor changes. There is always room for improvement, and we in the Middle-earth team have spent a great deal of time working on this edition to provide what we believe to be the very best version of the Middle-earth strategy battle game to date. Of course, they're not going to say anything else, so that's going to be cool. Let's see what they have got to say about it. In this edition, the team have also taken the opportunity to streamline and remove as much unnecessary complexity as possible to create a smoother experience for players. Now, this has happened with a lot of games recently in terms of like oversimplifying some rules and oversimplifying some interactions that you get in some certain games. Warhammer 40,000, for instance. And this is, I don't want to say it's a little bit worrying, but it's not worrying. It's just some of the kind of the little intricacies that and not complexities, but the tiny little rules that kind of lie underneath the core rules are always quite nice to kind of pick and choose at. Like, as we find out in a little while, special strikes, things like piercing strike and stab and things like that. They're quite a kind of a cool little rule underneath it, but we'll get to those in a second. The likes of the in the way chart that states different values for different obstacles and special strikes are good examples of this. The in the way chart has one that was seldom used, if not forgotten entirely, so we've done away with it. In the way tests are now passed on a roll of a 4+. Now, in the way test, if you were just hiding behind a tree, then you only needed a 3+ to get past the tree, because it's not as fortified sort of thing. It's not as large an obstacle to get past. So the fact that that's now just gone straight to a 4+, I think that's fine, that's okay. Special strikes, on the other hand, we found many people simply weren't interacting with, or were trying to bend to gain an in-game advantage that wasn't intended. So they're sailing off to the west. All hand weapons are now the same, regardless of whether they're swords, axes, maces, or clubs. Now, all hand weapons are now the same. I'm sure they don't mean things like elven swords, because that's a type of weapon. It's not a special strike. So special strikes were specifically for things like feint or stab or bash. Bash was a good one with a mace, so you could knock somebody down on the ground if you won the duel. Again, it was one of those rules where you had to take lots of steps. Lots of different steps to get to where you wanted the rule to be. So you had to win the duel, then you had to make a roll off, then you had to beat the person's strength value, then they were able to being knocked down to the floor. Then everybody else was in the combat could get extra strikes against them. So there were a lot of steps for things like that. And there were a lot of steps for feint and stab as well. So feint was if you were an elf, for instance, which had a high fight value, then you could lower your fight value to get re-rolls of 1s to wound when you were wounding if you won the duel, but you had to lower your fight value a little bit. So I can understand them kind of pulling those out, because they are quite elongated in terms of rules, which ultimately may not have been used very often. I think they were used a little bit more at like high-end tournaments, but Lord of the Rings really isn't about like high-end tournaments. It's much more about like just kind of getting on the table and playing with your friends. And even at tournaments, it's about getting there and being accessible, having the rules being accessible to everybody. So I'm kind of sad to see them go, but I kind of understand why they have been dropped. That's fine. Now, there is a greater focus. The last line as well. This also means you are free to convert their models to carry whatever hand weapon they wish. Now, that's cool. So now I can have axe-wielding elves if I want to. I don't know whether I want to, but yeah, axe-wielding elves. I like swords, so lots of swords probably going to make their way back into my armies. If they've got axes, now they've got swords. Anyway, there is a greater focus on narrative armies than before, especially in match play. Now, this is going to be really exciting. The Middle-earth strategy battle game centres around key storylines from the movies and books, and allowing players to recreate those scenes and armies on the tabletop is a key part of the gaming experience. It is absolutely a key part of the gaming experience. Every profile in the game is split into a series of army lists. each designed to focus on a particular scene, battle, or group of characters from the movies or books, and each with their own flavourful special rules. The aim is to have every army feel like an iconic scene and to evoke the wonderful world and themes of Middle-earth. Now, I'll carry on reading this because this is really exciting in terms. This is like probably the largest change that out of everything that we've seen here in the entire article. Like once you've read the entire article, this is the most exciting and the biggest change, which kind of turns everything on its head, sort of thing. So we'll carry on. Jay explains. The current edition introduced Legendary Legions. Now we spoke about Legendary Legions in the last video when I was talking about let's kind of guesstimate what might be happening. Special army lists that represent key armies and events from the page and screen. These proved to be wildly popular with fans, and so we've taken this concept one step further. Exciting. Now, every army list will be presented in the same manner as Legendary Legions, ensuring that every army fits the theme of Middle-earth. There are now loads to choose from, and we have taken great care to make sure that there is a scene in the movies showcasing characters fighting alongside one another. Then there is an appropriate army list to represent that on the tabletop. For players that like to find the most potent combinations, fear not. Many of these army lists will still provide ample opportunity for you to try out your combinations and see what you can come up with. That is like, I can't describe how exciting it is to write army lists in a new environment. Age of Sigmar 4 has come out. I know this is a Lord of the Rings video. Age of Sigmar 4 has just come out. I've never played Age of Sigmar 4. I play 40k a lot and Middle-earth, and kind of diving in a little bit to Age of Sigmar 4 and being able to kind of create new army lists is incredibly exciting. Like having a new canvas to play around with. So having a new canvas to play around with to create more armies for Middle-earth is going to be really, really cool. The picture up here is obviously of the King of the Dead and the Rangers, so they already have their Legendary Legions, which is really, really cool. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out in the rules and how they're going to be laid out. Are you going to have Aragorn as a profile, and then a list of like armies? I don't even know what they're going to be called. Like a list of armies that he can be represented in. So he can play in Gondor, he can play in Rangers, he can play in the Grey Company, all that lot, and like all the historic things. That's going to get, in my head, that's going to get quite cumbersome. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to. I don't know how they're going to present this. It's really interesting because obviously there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of profiles. How they're going to, how they're going to fit into all the different army lists is one of the exciting things I think from this article, and one of the most interesting to kind of try and speculate or get your head around what they might do. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming weeks as well. Put your suggestions down in the comments below how you think they're going to kind of present this. Like, are you going to have a Legolas profile and then a list of all the armies that he's going to be in, or are you going to have like a army list heading as on the page and then lists of all the models which can be in it, like the first time they show up, and then like they do in the current rules, once you get to a Legendary Legion later on, so like maybe the Grey Company, it then says Aragorn can be in the Grey Company, please refer to page 64 for his profile or something like that. So it's going to be really, really cool. I don't know how they're going to present this. Exciting. Yeah, this one section here is the one section out of the whole article where I am most excited to see more information. And I'm just going to have a quick drink before my voice goes. Okay, so as part of this greater focus on the narrative, every profile has been reworked and many characters have received updated or new abilities to better represent them on the battlefield. Perfect. This isn't to say that every profile has drastically changed, more that we have taken the opportunity to rebalance many of them, add extra flavour, or simply see if we can tweak how they work to better represent the character on the battlefield. In many cases, the profile will still function in exactly the same way, however they will have updated wording for their rules to fit in with the new edition to make them clearer for players to understand. Now, for those of you who do play Warhammer 40,000, this sort of suggests a wording that is going to happen within the rules. In Warhammer 40,000 it's called complete mind blank. In Warhammer 40,000 it's called Universal Special Rules. So Universal Special Rules have like a title, and then it will have the specific wording for that rule, and it will never have to be kind of duplicated. Then you don't have to have two models with the same rule but slightly different wording. So this kind of feels like that. So they can just kind of normalize the wording between all the different rules, which is really, really cool and very, very easy. You don't want to have to read 3 different ways that a ring wraith is going to disappear when he uses his last point of will, for instance, that sort of thing. Right, and then I'm going to drop my little smug mode here because one thing we have looked at is the distribution of fight values. And if anybody watched my last video on what might happen, this is exactly what I said. They need to redistribute the fight values so they give themselves a little bit more design space to work with. Something that fans have been asking about for a long time. There are a lot of models in the 3 to 6 range of fight values, making it quite congested. Yes, so all you have to do is you have to stretch that, and then you end up with a little bit more design space. As they say here, whilst we haven't changed the maximum fight value, we have taken the opportunity to spread out the fight values of 3 to 6 and even a few beyond. This means profiles, so maybe Legolas can go back up to fight 7. Yay! This means profiles that would have been considered to be the top of fight value 3 will see themselves bumped to fight value 4. So things like Numenor, there we go. So Numenor can now go to fight 4, etc., etc. And those at the top of fight value 4 will see them bump into fight value 5. Was Numenor 3 or 4? Either way, the Numenor would just get kind of bumped up a little bit. This is applied to both heroes and warriors, so you may well see some fan favourites being that bit more pointed in the next edition. Legolas. There will also be a new intelligence characteristic. Again, I get to be smug again, because I said I don't think they'll change anything. They might add in a characteristic in the same way that they added the passing characteristic into Blood Bowl. Intelligence characteristic, I think I even said intelligence characteristic, which is really, really cool. Now, I do agree with this. This is a really, really cool little kind of tweak and change. So it works the same way as courage, but the courage characteristic, as they say down here, no more blood-crazed Uruk-hai berserkers suddenly being experts in spotting invisible models. So the courage of an Uruk-hai berserker is not going to be the same as the intelligence of an Uruk-hai berserker, which gives you that differentiation within the rules, which is great. So, for instance, we'll just carry on reading this one. In the current edition, a model's courage characteristic is often used arbitrarily to make tests that feel a bit odd, such as seeing if a model has the wits to spot an invisible ring bearer. That's not a courage test, that is now an intelligence test, which you can then vary those values. So maybe he's not very courageous and he's going to run away very, very quickly, but he is aware of his surroundings, so he can spot an invisible ring bearer quite easily. Finally, we have added a number of new thematic special rules to various profiles, helping to invoke their characters from the films and make them feel even more like they do on screen. Sam can now use his frying pan in combat. That's article finished. Article done. I've got just a little bit of an anecdote here. We had a kind of a multiplayer game down at Warhammer World with loads of my friends a few months ago. This is us all playing down here. So we had 6v6. It was good versus evil. We were the good side, or I was the good side, and we had to try and get the hobbits off the board. The evil had to try and stop us. Blah 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 blah. And we ended up with Aragorn and Sam versus the Witch King in combat with, and also Bill the Pony was in here as well. But this was just before we kind of ended up in that massive combat. But we had Sam and Aragorn in the same combat as the Witch King. Aragorn failed to kill the Witch King. Sam stepped up, 6 and then a 6 to wound with the frying pan. Sam killed the Witch King. Boom, dead with a frying pan. So it's amazing. It's brilliant that we now get that as as a rule, because that was absolutely what in our heads. That's exactly what happened. Sam killed the Witch King with a frying pan, which is just perfect. So Lurtz can potentially shrug off wounds, and Isildur, this is really cool, can potentially wield the shards of Narsil should Elendil be slain. That's exciting as well. Oh, we get Narsil. Right, okay, so what does this mean for Middle-earth? Okay. Upon the release of the new edition, 2 supplements will be available: Armies of the Lord of the Rings and Armies of the Hobbit. So that is the same books that we have at the moment. They obviously will now feature the new profiles. Each of these will focus solely on the heroes, villains, warriors, creatures and armies from their respective films. But what about anything that isn't directly in the films? So that'll be like the Candish chariots and things like that, the Variags of Cand. Fear not. An additional supplement will be released a short while later, entitled Armies of Middle-earth. So we're now going to have 3 books in which we can pick our armies from, which will focus on any profiles that do not feature in the films themselves. Writing an entire new edition and reworking every profile has proven to be a mummock-sized task. I've got to have the giggles on that one. So to make sure everything is as good as it can be, this supplement will arrive a little later than the others, but still precisely when it's meant to. So that's just saying that some of the non-movie profiles and aspects of the game might be a couple of months or a couple of weeks later. So that is different, and I've seen a few people say this and kind of panicking and being a bit sad about this already. That is different from what they're talking about here, which is Legacies of Middle-earth. So this whole paragraph is basically saying that there will be a Legacies of Middle-earth PDF that's coming out for some of the older models, which I would imagine they're just going to pull from production and not sell anymore. I do not want to guess which ones. The Angmar Shade, maybe. When was the last time they made the Angmar Shade? I don't know. So maybe that goes into the Legacies. And it's not sold as much, or not sold anymore. That is not referring to the Armies of Middle-earth, which are the stuff which are the profiles that aren't in films. So that's completely separate. This is completely separate. You will get a PDF for all these though, so you will be able to use them still. And I am completely confident that the Middle-earth community will still use all of these legacy models as well. They won't be legal if you run them, if you go to a Warhammer World tournament, but I'm pretty sure that all like the GBHL and everything, all those tournaments and all around the world, down in Australia and New Zealand and over in America, I'm sure a lot of you guys will keep the legacy PDF as legal, if you like, for the tournaments. So that's just going to be like a few models being plucked out. I have no idea. I can't speculate at all on which ones they might be. Like I said, maybe the Shade, something that the really old models. I mean, I don't really want to say Gulliver, but Gulliver maybe, because he's not been made forever. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, we are going to get rules for those. The issue with Legacy, well, it's not an issue. The thing about Legacies of Middle-earth PDF, that one, when we get like the biannual FAQs and erratas, those PDFs won't get updated. So if something is ridiculously strong and overpowered by accident in a Legacy PDF, it's not likely to get a FAQ or an errata or changed in those biannual FAQs that we get. So just bear that in mind, but I'm pretty sure everything will be absolutely spot on again. Right, so current Middle-earth supplements. Now there are a lot of supplements at the moment. So we've got Defence of the North, we've got Rise, I was going to say Rise of the Ring Bearer. It's not the Rise of the Ring Bearer, is it? It's the Journey of the Ring Bearer or something. I can't remember which one it is. I'm just so excited at the moment. I'm having a brain. With the comprehensive update to the game, all previous Middle-earth supplements will no longer be valid for match play. That doesn't stop you from using them at home, of course. The narrative scenarios contained within them will still work for playing through the stories and scenes, though some may require little subtle tweaks, which is really, really cool. Well, it's not really cool, but like it's everybody is able to just kind of go, okay, well I can see that being a little bit overpowered. We'll just kind of pull that back, or it doesn't really work. That rule doesn't translate into the new rules. We can just run it like this. That's fine. And much of the hobby content, such as building and painting guides, will still be just as useful. Now, current Middle-earth supplements are no longer valid. What does that mean? Well, it means that they're no longer valid. However, all the legendary legions which are in these supplements, which we are using, if you like, to play the game the most, if you like, so they're the rules that we're using the most, are now going to be in the game anyway. So the supplements, although we have bought them all and we've got, they're all over on the shelves over there, they're still going to be really, really cool for the painting guides, and the scenarios are always going to be great. So the fact that the rules are now no longer valid, I think that's going to be kind of overseen by the fact that the rules are kind of going to be in the main edition anyway. So I don't think this is too bad. Yeah, it's never nice when supplements kind of go out of action and out of legality, if you like. But we've had a lot. They've been a really, really well supported kind of supplements over the last kind of 6-7 years. So I think this is fine. And honestly, I'm just excited for the new edition and see where it all comes from. So all those legendary legions that are in all those supplements are now going to be in a single place, and we get to play around with all sorts of new army writing as well. However, the Rise of Angmar, this supplement was written specifically for the current edition, which is really, really cool. And also interesting to know when it's going to come out. Is it going to come out before the edition? Which I think it is, because they then hint that they're going to drop some of the PDFs here as well. So, and as such, we'll also the recently announced Rise of Angmar supplement was written for the current edition, and as such will also cease to be valid for the match play upon release of the new edition. We are well aware of the short shelf life of Rise of Angmar and wanted to make sure that you, our customers, have all the information before you purchase it. Rise of Angmar is a chance for collectors. I've completely got that wrong. I'm very, very sorry. This isn't. This isn't legal. So, yeah, so this is going to be... the Rise of Angmar is going to be... you're going to be picking this one up for painting guides, for the scenarios and things like that, rather than the rules, because the rules will be gone, if you like, in however many months' time. If it comes out in December, what's that, 3 months' time? So the rules in Rise of Angmar aren't going to be legal. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. I completely misread that. I misread that as it has been written for the new edition. Rise of Angmar is a chance for collectors to wrap up the current edition of the game with one last supplement for it, and it still contains plenty of exciting match play potential that will see out the final months of the current edition. Also, the narrative scenarios featured within are some of the most exciting and dynamic we have produced, and will keep fans of narrative play going for many, many more months. My little gaming group that I play Lord of the Rings with, I really want to get involved with some more scenarios. I think I've played 4 scenarios ever. I want to play some more, so I will probably grab this. I will probably pick this one up just to kind of complete the set. So I'll have the whole set, and then I'll kind of be able to go through, and one day maybe we'll go through from start to finish and pick a scenario, or do a little scenario journey about all of them. But yeah, it's slightly sad that hasn't been written for the new edition, but at least they've come out and said it, so that we can kind of make an informed decision on whether we are going to pick that up or not. Okay. So, however, as the release of Rise of Angmar comes so close to the new edition, there will also be a free Armies of Arnor and Angmar PDF available to download upon the launch of the new edition, containing the rules for using the profiles and associated army lists for both Arnor and Angmar, so that anyone who purchases the new models doesn't have to wait for Armies of Middle-earth to be able to field them in the new edition. Now, Armies of Middle-earth, remember, was a supplement for all the profiles which aren't in the films. So the Arnor and Angmar armies aren't in the films. They're not on the big screen. So having those in a PDF immediately on release is really cool. So we don't get like a gulf of a couple of months or a few months where we can't use these new models that we've just bought, which is really cool. And then finally, they're just delaying the FAQ for August because the new edition is coming. So. Oh my word! And I've just got to say, I love this picture. I am an elf boy at heart. I have all my elf armies now are actually out on my desk. I've cleared my desk. After reading this, I spent a few minutes clearing my desk, and I now have all my armies, all my elf armies, out on the desk. And I'm determined to get them all finished, ready for the new edition, so that I can go straight in. I can like just bowl straight into the new edition with Rivendell, Lothlorien, and Thranduil's Halls, and then as well as all the other armies that I've got as well. But I really want to get the 3 elf armies completely finished. I'm so excited. Okay, so that is the article. Let me know what you think. Please drop your comments down below. I want to know exactly what you think about this. I want to know what your biggest worry is about everything in this article. I want to know what your biggest excitement is. What army maybe that you're excited to write some army list for with the new with the new kind of army lists writing that's going to happen. But yeah, let me know. I'm so excited. So thank you very much for coming along with me on a journey of excitement for the new edition of Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to go and finally make myself some chili, and then I'm going to go back to painting my Ancalagon. It's not Smaug. Yeah, I'm going to go back to painting my Ancalagon. So if you haven't already, please check my last 2 Lord of the Rings videos. There's one on Ancalagon, and then there's another one on the new edition, and just kind of looking through the new models that were released as well and revealed. And I will see you in the next video. I am very sure. And if we get articles like this every week, I'll do another video next week as well, where I get even more excited about another thing that they'll reveal. Right. Anyway, I will let you all go. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care and have a really cool weekend. Thanks very much. Bye bye.